Okay, guys, in our following screen or our second practice, we're going to call it sum numbers. And what we're going to do is that we're going to add all the numbers from an input that we decide. So let's say I ask for the number 100, and the number 100 is going to add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7, and so on and so forth until we reach the 100. If I click on go, I will automatically see the sum of all the numbers from 1 to 100. Okay, and we can also do that, but now we're not going to use a for loop. We are going to use a while loop. Now remember that a while loop has a condition, and then we have to modify the variable in order to change the condition at some point. So we're going to go to the blocks, and I'm going to explain one by one what each block is doing. So I'm going to just move out each of them, and I'm going to show you each step. So first of all, we need to initialize a variable called sum. This is where we're going to store the sum of all the numbers. Then we're going to create another variable called counter, that it's going to be the counter of my while loop. Remember, every while loop requires a counter to get to a certain point and then be able to go out of the loop. Okay, so this is important. We use always a counter in our while loops, and this is going to be, it's kind of like the I iteration on the for loop, but now it has to be inside. Then last, we need to create a variable called input. This input is going to be where we just place the number that we want to add, okay, on the input text. Okay, now we're going to go ahead, and when button one click, we are going to start organizing our program. Now, first of all, we need to set the variable input, okay, to the text input message. Okay, so what we're doing is just storing the information from the text input into the variable input. Then, of course, we need to create our loop. Now we're going to use a while loop instead of a for loop, and you can find it on the control pane where it says repeat until or repeat while. Okay, now repeat while, and this is the condition. Now, it's very important that you understand the condition because that's the one that we have to modify. So the condition says, while app variable counter, or while the counter is less than the input or the variable input, then repeat. Okay? Now this is going to be infinite unless the counter changes. So that's something that we need to take into account. Okay? So let's repeat so let's just add every time a number, and this is how we're going to do it, okay? So first, we are going to go ahead and set the variable sum, okay? Now, in order to set the variable sum, we need to set it to the variable sum, so whatever started, plus the counter, or the position of the counter. If the counter is in 1, add 1. If the counter is in 2, add 2, 3, 4. So basically the program will be adding 1, add, then 1 plus 2, 3, then 3 plus 3, then 6 plus 4, and so on and so forth until it reaches the final value. So what I'm doing is just creating a repetition where the sum is updated with the counter. The counter is the one that says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, but I also need to update the counter. That's why I'm going to set the counter to counter plus 1. This is the only way that I can reach and change the variable. When the counter is no longer less than the input, then the program will go out of the loop and then show our result on the label. So this is pretty much it. It's a very simple program, but it has a lot to do with loops. Now, while loops and for loops, remember, you can use to do a while loop, you can use to do a for loop independently, okay, and get the same results. So now it's time for you guys to play around with this for loop and try your own. Maybe add all the odd numbers from this activity, or add all the even numbers. So let's go and check out how this works. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to click on preview and I'm going to see maybe the numbers 1 through 10. So it's going to add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 all the way to 10. If I click on go, I'll get 45. Okay? Now what I see is that this never, I have to restart the screen again in order to practice more and more. I can create an infinite while loop so it can continue or infinitely go out, okay? So let's say the numbers from 1 to 100 again, and then I get 4,950. Okay guys, I hope you liked it and understood how to use a while loop.